3 days after my father's funeral, the lawyer called us into his office. The will was being read. My sister Maya sat next to me. Our mother had died years ago. We thought it was just the two of us. The lawyer opened the envelope. The entire estate of Walter Brennan, valued at $4.2 million, including all property and savings, is left to his wife, Claudia Brennan. Maya froze. What wife? Our father wasn't married. The lawyer pulled out another document. Mr. Brennan married Claudia Torres 6 days before his death. Here's the marriage certificate. Nevada, Clark County. Claudia Torres, the hospice nurse, the woman who'd cared for my father during his final 2 months. She'd acted like family, comforted us, said she was there during his last moments. But actually, she'd taken him to Las Vegas, got him to sign papers while he was on morphine, stolen $4 million. My name is Elliot Brennan. I'm 38 years old. And I just learned I'd experienced the biggest betrayal of my life. But I didn't know yet how bad it really was. Let me go back 6 months. My father, Walter, was 72 years old. Retired engineer, lived alone in Portland, Oregon, in the house where Maya and I grew up. He'd been healthy, active, played golf, volunteered at the library. Then he started feeling tired, losing weight. Went to the doctor. Pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. The doctor said 6 months maybe. 8 if we were lucky. Dad took it calmly. I've had a good life. 72 good years. Can't complain. Maya lived in Seattle. I lived in Denver. We both flew to Portland immediately. Talked to Dad about options, treatment, hospice. I don't want to spend my last months in a hospital, he said. I want to be home, comfortable. When it's time, I want to go peacefully. We arranged for hospice care, an agency called Compassionate Transitions. They'd send a nurse to check on him daily, help with medication, make sure he was comfortable. The nurse they assigned was Claudia Torres, 41 years old, 15 years experience in hospice care, professional, kind, efficient. She started coming every day, morning visits, checking Dad's vitals, managing his pain medication, making sure he ate. Dad liked her immediately. She's good at her job, doesn't treat me like I'm already dead. Maya and I took turns staying with Dad, 2 weeks at a time. We'd overlap, so he was never alone. During my first rotation, I met Claudia properly. Professional woman, spoke softly, always asked Dad how he was feeling, what he needed. Your father is handling this with remarkable grace, she told me one afternoon. Most patients struggle more with acceptance. He's at peace. That's Dad, always practical. It makes my job easier and more meaningful. I'm grateful to care for him. She seemed genuine, sincere. Over the next 2 months, Dad got weaker. The cancer was spreading. More pain, more medication. Claudia adjusted his morphine dosage, made sure he was comfortable. She started spending more time at the house, sometimes 3 or 4 hours a day, more than her required visits. I don't mind, she said when I mentioned it. Your father reminds me of my own dad. He passed from cancer too. I wish someone had been there for him like I'm here for your father. Maya and I appreciated it. We were juggling work, families, flying back and forth. Having someone reliable there felt like a blessing. Dad seemed to trust Claudia completely. Would tell her things he didn't tell us, about his pain, his fears, his thoughts about dying. She listens without trying to fix things, he explained. You kids want to make it better. She just lets me talk. In late October, Dad took a turn for the worse. Wasn't eating, sleeping most of the day. The doctor said it could be weeks now, maybe days. Maya and I both came to Portland. Stayed at the house. Claudia was there constantly, almost living there. I want to make sure he's comfortable during this transition, she said. These final days are critical. On November 2nd, Dad seemed different, more alert than he'd been in days. Sat up in bed, wanted to talk. I need to handle some things, he said. Legal things, while I still can. What things, Dad? My will, my accounts. I want everything organized. No confusion later. The lawyer came to the house that afternoon, updated some documents. Dad signed papers, seemed focused, clear. Good, he said after the lawyer left. That's done. 2 days later, Claudia asked Maya and me to step out for a few hours. Your father needs rest, real rest. You both look exhausted too. Go get lunch. Take a walk. I'll stay with him. We hesitated, but she was right. We were exhausted. We went to a cafe. Sat there for 2 hours. When we got back, Claudia was gone. Dad was sleeping. A note on the counter. He had a peaceful afternoon. See you tomorrow, Claudia. The next morning, November 5th, Dad seemed agitated, confused. Where was I yesterday? I don't remember yesterday. You were here, Dad? Resting? Claudia was with you. Was I? I feel like I went somewhere, but I can't remember. We thought it was the medication, the disease affecting his brain, common in final stages. Dad died 4 days later. November 9th, early morning. Peaceful. Claudia was there. We'd called her when his breathing changed. She held his hand. He's comfortable. No pain. This is natural. Let him go gently. He stopped breathing at 6:42 a.m. Claudia helped us through the immediate aftermath. What to do, who to call, how to handle the body. She was professional, compassionate. I'm so sorry for your loss. Your father was a wonderful man. It was an honor to care for him. We thanked her. Meant it. The funeral was small, close friends, some of Dad's former colleagues. Claudia came, sat in the back, dabbed her eyes with a tissue after the service. She hugged us both. If you need anything at all, please reach out. Then she left. We didn't expect to see her again. 3 days later, we met with Dad's lawyer to read the will. That's when we learned about Claudia, about the marriage. The lawyer showed us the marriage certificate, dated November 4th, Las Vegas, Nevada. Your father and Claudia Torres were married by a justice of the peace at the Clark County Courthouse. Maya's voice was shaking. That's impossible. Dad was dying. He couldn't travel to Las Vegas. According to the certificate, he was there. Both signatures are notarized. I looked at the document. Dad's signature, shaky but recognizable. Claudia's signature, neat, clear. This doesn't make sense. We were with him November 4th. He never left the house. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. Were you with him all day? Maya and I looked at each other. November 4th. That was the day Claudia had asked us to leave, to give Dad rest. We'd been gone maybe 3 hours. We stepped out for a few hours that afternoon. But Dad couldn't have traveled. He could barely sit up. Private air ambulance can transport patients quickly. Portland to Las Vegas is 2 hours flight time. It's possible. Why would she do this? The lawyer cleared his throat. As your father's legal spouse, Claudia inherits everything unless there's evidence of coercion or incapacity. The will your father signed on November 2nd left everything to you two. But a spouse supersedes children in intestate succession, and she has a marriage certificate. This is fraud. She manipulated him. You'll need to prove that, and it won't be easy. We left the office in shock, drove back to Dad's house, our house now. Except it wasn't. It belonged to Claudia. $4.2 million. The house, Dad's savings, his retirement accounts, his life insurance, everything. Maya was crying. How could she do this? We trusted her. We need to fight this. Get a lawyer. Prove Dad wasn't competent to marry. How? He signed papers. It's legal. There has to be a way. I started researching immediately. Called law firms that handled estate disputes. Most said the same thing. Challenging a marriage is extremely difficult, even if the person was ill. Unless we could prove Dad was mentally incapacitated at the exact moment of marriage, or that he was coerced, we had no case. And Claudia had a notarized document. I found a lawyer willing to take the case. Diana Rothman. She specialized in elder abuse and estate fraud. What you're describing sounds like predatory marriage, Diana said during our first meeting. It happens more than people realize. Caregivers form relationships with dying patients, rush to marry before death, inherit everything. Can we stop it? Maybe. We need medical records. Proof your father wasn't capable of consent. Witnesses who can testify to his mental state. And we need to move fast. Claudia can liquidate assets, sell property, make everything disappear. Diana filed an emergency motion to freeze the estate. Judge granted it temporarily. Claudia couldn't sell anything for now. But the clock was ticking. We had to build a case. I started digging into Claudia's background. Found something immediately. She'd been married before. 3 times. All 3 husbands were elderly. All 3 died within a year of marriage. This isn't coincidence, I told Diana. She's done this before. Do you have proof the previous marriages were fraudulent? Not yet. But 3 dead husbands. That's a pattern. Diana hired a private investigator, former FBI agent named Carl Stevens. He started looking into Claudia's history. Meanwhile, we subpoenaed Dad's medical records from the hospice agency. The morphine logs, medication schedules, everything. The records showed something disturbing. On November 4th, the day of the Vegas trip, Dad's morphine dosage had been increased significantly. Triple his normal amount. This dose would have made him barely conscious, Diana explained. Compliant. Unable to make rational decisions, but technically awake enough to sign documents. So she drugged him, took him to Vegas, married him while he was out of it. That's what it looks like. But proving intent is harder. She could claim she increased the dose for pain management, that the trip was his idea, that he wanted to marry her. We needed more. Carl, the investigator, came back with results 2 weeks later. Claudia Torres has been doing this for at least 8 years. I found 5 marriages total, all to hospice patients, all men over 65, all wealthy, all died within months of marriage. 5 victims? That I can prove. Could be more. She moves between states, changes agencies, uses different names sometimes. Claudia Torres, Claudia Chen, Claudia Martinez. How has nobody caught this? Because it's technically legal. She marries them, they die, she inherits. Unless family challenges it, and most don't. They're grieving, exhausted. They don't have the energy or money to fight. What about the previous families? 2 of them settled. Gave her partial payments to go away. 1 family fought and lost. Couldn't prove incapacity. 1 didn't even know she existed until after probate closed. And the 5th? Still ongoing. Family in California is suing, but it's been 2 years. Still in court. This was bigger than Dad. This was a serial predator. Carl found more. Claudia had a background in pharmacology before becoming a nurse. knew exactly how medications worked, how to use them to create compliance without causing obvious impairment. She's perfected a system, Carl explained. Target wealthy elderly men with terminal diagnoses, win their trust as a caregiver, isolate them from family briefly, drug them just enough. Quick trip to Vegas, marriage certificate, wait for death, inherit everything. This is premeditated. Absolutely. And she's made millions doing it. We presented everything to Diana. She filed an amended motion, attached evidence of Claudia's pattern, the previous marriages, the medication timing, expert testimony that Dad couldn't have consented in his condition. The hearing was scheduled for January, 2 months away. Claudia showed up with her own lawyer, expensive suit, confident. She sat across the courtroom looking calm, even smiled slightly when she saw us. The judge reviewed our evidence, listened to Diana's arguments. Then Claudia's lawyer spoke. My client is a dedicated hospice nurse who formed a genuine connection with Mr. Brennan. They fell in love during his final months. The marriage was his wish, his choice. He was lucid, capable. The medical records show he was on pain medication, but that doesn't equal incapacity. As for the previous marriages, those are irrelevant. People are allowed to marry multiple times. My client is a widow, not a criminal. The judge took a week to decide. When the ruling came, it was mixed. He acknowledged the suspicious pattern, the concerning medication dosage, but said we hadn't definitively proven Dad was incapacitated at the moment of marriage. However, he ordered a full investigation, appointed a special master to review everything, kept the estate frozen, extended the case. It was something, not a win, but not a loss. Claudia's lawyer immediately filed for dismissal, argued the delays were harming his client, that she had rights to her inheritance. The legal battle dragged on. 4 months, 6 months. Maya and I were spending thousands on lawyers, taking time off work. Meanwhile, Claudia was doing nothing, just waiting, because time was on her side. The longer this went, the more expensive it became for us. Diana warned us. This is her strategy. Wait you out, make it so costly that you settle. We're not settling. I understand. But realistically, you're looking at another year of litigation. Maybe 2. Tens of thousands more in legal fees. Even if you win, you might recover less than what you're spending. It was crushing. But we couldn't let her win. In month 7, Carl found something new. A nurse from one of the previous victims came forward. A woman named Patricia Reed. She'd worked with Claudia 5 years ago. I knew something was wrong, Patricia told us over the phone. The patient was Harold Chen, 81 years old, lung cancer. Claudia was his hospice nurse. They got married 3 weeks before he died. What made you suspicious? Harold was confused those last weeks. The medication was aggressive, more than necessary. I questioned it. Claudia said the doctor ordered it, but when I checked the records, something felt off. Did you report it? I tried. Filed a complaint with the hospice agency. They investigated, found nothing wrong, said Claudia followed protocol. I dropped it. But I've always wondered, why come forward now? Because I saw her name in a news article about your father's case. Same pattern. I realized I should have pushed harder back then. Maybe I could have stopped this. Patricia agreed to testify, provided her records, her contemporaneous notes about Harold Chen's case. It was another piece, another pattern. The special master completed his investigation, filed a 200-page report. His findings were damning. Claudia had systematically targeted vulnerable patients. used her medical knowledge to create windows of opportunity. The medication timing on November 4th was not medically justified. Dad's trip to Vegas had been arranged by Claudia without family knowledge. The marriage certificate showed signs of duress. Dad's signature was inconsistent with his normal handwriting. The special master recommended the marriage be annulled. The estate returned to Dad's original will. Claudia's lawyer filed an immediate appeal, but the momentum had shifted. 2 weeks later, the state nursing board opened an investigation into Claudia. Her license was suspended pending review. Then the district attorney's office got involved. Started looking at potential criminal charges, elder abuse, fraud, theft. Claudia suddenly wanted to settle. Her lawyer called Diana. "My client is willing to return the estate in exchange for no criminal prosecution." "Not good enough," Diana said. "Full return of estate, public admission of wrongdoing, agreement never to work in health care again, and she pays all legal fees." "That's excessive." "That's the offer. Take it or we'll see her in criminal court." They negotiated for 3 days. Finally agreed. Claudia would sign over everything, admit to improper conduct, surrender her nursing license permanently, pay $75,000 in legal fees. In exchange, we wouldn't cooperate with criminal prosecution. It wasn't perfect. We wanted her in prison. But the DA said criminal cases are hard to prove. She'd claim it was love. Juries are unpredictable, and we'd be tied up for years. We took the settlement. Claudia signed the papers on a Tuesday afternoon. I watched her walk out of the lawyer's office. She didn't look at us, didn't say a word, just left. The estate was transferred back. Dad's house, his savings, everything he'd worked for, returned to where it should have been. Maya and I split it as Dad had intended. We also reported Claudia to every state nursing board we could find, provided evidence, made sure her record showed what she'd done. She couldn't prey on anyone else, at least not as a nurse. Carl kept tracking her, wanted to make sure she didn't just move and start over. 6 months after the settlement, he called me. "She's working at a senior living facility, Arizona, administrative role. No patient contact, but still access to vulnerable people. Can we stop her?" Already did. Sent the facility documentation of what she did. They fired her immediately. It became a pattern. Claudia would get hired somewhere. We'd notify them. She'd be fired. Eventually, she stopped trying. Just disappeared. Last Carl heard, she was living in Mexico, unable to work in the U.S. anymore. A year after everything ended, I went back to Dad's house. Maya and I had decided to sell it. Too many memories, too much pain. I walked through the rooms one last time. Dad's study, his bedroom, the kitchen where he'd cooked breakfast every Sunday. In his desk, I found a journal, leather-bound. I'd never seen it before. Inside were entries from his final months. I sat down and read. Most of it was what you'd expect. Thoughts about dying, memories, reflections on his life. But then I found an entry from October. "Claudia seems very interested in my finances. Keeps asking questions about my accounts, my property. Says it's normal to get affairs in order. But something feels off. She's too interested. Maybe I'm paranoid. The medication makes me foggy. But I don't think I trust her anymore." Another entry from late October. "Claudia suggested I update my will, said I should make sure everything is organized. I wonder why she cares so much. She's just a nurse. Why does my estate matter to her? I'm going to be careful, not tell her anything more." And then the last entry, November 1st, just days before he died. "I'm scared. Not of dying, but of what happens after. I worry about Elliot and Maya. I want them taken care of. But I feel like something is wrong. Claudia makes me nervous now. I can't explain it. Just a feeling. I wish I could think more clearly. The medication clouds everything. I hope I'm wrong about her. But I don't think I am. He knew. On some level, Dad knew something wasn't right. But he was too weak, too medicated, too close to death to act on it. I closed the journal. Cried for the first time since the funeral. Not just for losing him, but for how he'd spent his final days. Worried, suspicious, unable to protect himself or us. That's what Claudia had stolen. Not just money, but Dad's peace. His final moments should have been about family, about love, about saying goodbye. Instead, he died afraid, manipulated, used. Maya and I established a foundation in Dad's name. The Walter Brennan Elder Protection Fund. We work with hospice agencies, train staff to recognize predatory behavior, fund legal aid for families fighting estate fraud, help other victims like us. Because what happened to Dad wasn't unique. It's happening constantly. Predators targeting the vulnerable, the dying, the people who can't fight back. 3 years after Dad's death, I got a call from Carl. Thought you'd want to know. Claudia was arrested in Mexico. Tried to marry an American expat, 84 years old. Terminal illness. His daughter caught on, called authorities. They found fake documents, previous identity fraud. She's in custody. Will she be extradited? They're working on it. If they bring her back, she'll face charges for your father's case and others. Could be 20 years. Good. Claudia was finally caught. Not because of what she did to Dad, but because she couldn't stop. She kept hunting, kept targeting, until she made a mistake. Last I heard, she's still fighting extradition. Might be years before she faces trial. But she's done. Can't hurt anyone else. Can't steal from grieving families. My name is Elliot Brennan. I'm 41 years old now. I live in Denver, work as an architect. Visit Maya in Seattle often. We stay close, bonded by everything we went through. Sometimes people ask if I regret the fight, if 2 years of legal battles and emotional stress was worth it. I tell them yes. Because it wasn't just about money. It was about honoring Dad, protecting his memory, making sure predators like Claudia don't win, and maybe preventing the next family from going through what we did. Dad's journal sits on my bookshelf now. I read it sometimes, remind myself why we fought, why we couldn't let her get away with it. He was scared at the end, couldn't protect himself. But Maya and I protected him after. Got justice, made sure his real wishes were honored. That's what children do. We protect our parents when they can't protect themselves. Even after they're gone, especially after they're gone.